not too far from getting the second match underway at the Brisbane International. Interesting one this is. The man at the back is a past champion here, Grigor Dimitrov, and he goes in against a man who had a very promising career happening before a serious knee injury, Yoshihito Nishioka of Japan. And they are about to make their way on to Pat Rafter Arena for the second match on the opening day of the Brisbane International of 2019, as it is officially known, even though we still have one day of the old year to go. The players will get a good view of the fireworks tonight on the Brisbane River, their hotel nestled right beside the banks of the river. So if they were planning on an early night, it's probably not going to happen.
And his opponent from Bulgaria, Grigor Dimitrov.
In the previous match, we spoke about Karolina Pliskova and the fact that she would have some good feelings walking out onto this court. Grigor Dimitrov will likewise have good feelings being a past champion here, and one man who knows him very well is alongside me in the commentary box, Roger Rashid. Rash, welcome to you.
Thanks very much, Peter. Yeah, and absolutely really excited for this match as well. Grigor's opening match, tricky opponent in some aspects, but really looking forward to seeing what Grigor's going to bring to the court in his very first match leading into this 2019 season.
30 degrees, so it's a warm one in Brisbane. You would expect nothing less at this time of the year. Local time around 20 to 2 in the afternoon. And a gentle breeze outside, cooling things down a little bit, but with the bowl effect of the stadium here, the players do feel a little bit of the breeze with the open sides. Simon Canavan is the man in the chair about to toss the coin, and then we'll take a look at some of the facts and figures surrounding both of these players.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah? Great.
Very well, thank you.
Everything good?
Everything's good except for the voice.
That's all right.
Yeah. So this is Jan for the coin toss. Okay, gentlemen. So at normal conditions, we are using Hawkeye 3+1 for the tiebreak. If you challenge nice, clear, prompt, especially between first and second serve. We do have the shot clock. That's for the server. If you're receiving, you still have to play to the server's reasonable pace. And tight 5-minute warm-up with then a minute to be at the baselines. Ball doesn't have to be in play after, but just to be at the baselines. Any questions? No. Oh, sorry. TV changeovers as well. Jan, who would you like to call? Grigor, heads or tails?
I'll have that. Whatever.
The world. Tails.
I got
the world. The world it is.
The world it is.
Surf. Yeah, say it. Just a photo, gentlemen. So thank you, Jen. In the middle, in the middle.
I'd have to have a substitute chair umpire on standby by the sound of it. Simon Canavan, he's trying to do his best Cardanooni in the chair.
There might be some hand signals going throughout the course of this match. At least he put it out there immediately that he was battling.
Yes.
This is before New Year's Eve's actually taken place as well.
Yes. If it had been the 1st of January, we would have thought, oh yeah, well, he enjoyed the fireworks last night and a fair bit of other stuff as well. Anyway, back to the tennis. And let's have a look at these two men. One we know really well. This man we don't know that well, but we could possibly have known him a little bit better because he had the reputation of being a player on the rise. He's 23 years of age from Japan. His current world rank is 75, but that's a little bit misleading because he was on the way to a very promising start to his career. He tore his ACL in the left knee in March 2017 at the ATP Masters in Miami. And even though it's probably only early stages of a comeback when you consider that that was a bit more than 18 months ago, he did well, Rash, to get back out there and actually perform pretty well. He captured his first career title in 2018.
Yeah, he did in Shenzhen, and that's a really good big win for him as well. He beat Badasco in that tournament as well, which is actually a big win, big strong hitter. Shapovalov, who he also beat there. So two quality players. So you can see the quality of the Japanese player, and you know, as you said, coming back out of an injury it's not that easy because you've got to build that belief system in. Do you trust your body? Do you trust your legs? All those sort of things. Getting back into that match condition. So, but you know, he's a no fuss type of player, and we look forward to seeing what the 19 brings.
And he goes in against a man who's won almost $16 million in his career, 1.8 million last year. His rank at the end of 2017 was 3. His rank at the end of 2018 will be 19. He didn't win a title in 2018 after 4 the previous year. Were there any underlying reasons behind that?
Yeah, look, there's no doubt there's some expectation attached to it. You know, Grigor would be the first to put his hand up and say it wasn't the year he wanted. You know, when you're 3 in the world and then you jump out the following year, had a very good start to the year, and then it sort of went all over the place. And I'll be interested to see how that actually. What we see initially right here, because it all started here with a bit of the serve. The serve was his Achilles heel, where it's sort of the second serve especially, which got him into a lot of trouble, and I think that sort of stripped away a lot of his tennis throughout the course of the year. And you know, he would put in a lot of good work during the off-season, as he always does, and he's going to play some Australian tennis out here today.
He ran into a red-hot Nick Kyrgios last year when Kyrgios was just unstoppable. He was so impressive in Brisbane last year, the Australian, after Dimitrov was coming out and defending his title. They've never met before. Dimitrov at 27, as we said, the young man from Japan at 23 years of age. As he beat John Millman. Remember that first match last year between Grigor and John Millman? That was a beauty.
Good strong night match, and the conditions change obviously. I mean, it is. You know, I've been outside. It's humid, but it's normal. I mean, the players they prepare. If you're coming down and you're coming into Australia and you're coming to Queensland for the first time, or you've been in before, you know, you need to understand that there is the humidity here, so you need to prepare for that. Obviously, under the roof here, you get some. You get the benefit of that, not having the sun straight on top of you, but it's still the sweat factor takes effect, and it's you've got to look after those conditions, and that's why preparation of the athlete to me is extremely important. If you haven't ticked that box going into a season, understand that there's going to be some attachments there alongside.
You talked about that win for Nishioka in Shenzhen. When he played Shapovalov in the final, he actually saved 2 match points. So it was a really strong performance all the way through, beating Verdasco, some quality opposition. How long does it take when you've had a knee injury? Do you get to a point where you say, OK, well, I'm not worried about it anymore? Or is it always just in the back corner of your mind?
I think every athlete's a little bit different. You know, there are some athletes that are a little bit they're hypochondriacs to injuries, so they're feeling every movement. Every time they put their foot down, they'd be feeling it. Others can actually just get on with it and go after it. They sort of their mental state of mind is all about focus on the game and what's out in front of them. So I think it's a character thing, but if you've done the right rehab, you've put in the work leading into match play, and you haven't gone there too early and got involved in match play too early, you know, it'll probably take you a good 2 or 3 months to really trust yourself. And you want to get wins on the board. So it's amazing what happens when wins come. If you get some early wins, it sort of removes the energy of the injury, if you know what I mean.
Simon Canavan using an economy with words with his announcement. I think he's probably going to need to, the way things are sounding for Simon in the chair. Now they time this particular stage now. It's a 5-minute hit up, and they adhere to that very quickly, and now the clock starts, and so effectively from when time was called, they've got a minute to get out there and be ready for play. Yeah,
which is great. I think, you know, it's something that the players have looked at, that have agreed upon as well, you know, trying to narrow this time frame down so get it more accurate. It works for everybody. I'm always of the feeling as well that I feel like the warm-up's even, you know, it's too long. We can even narrow the warm-up down because, you know, they've spent a lot of time preparing behind the scenes. You know, they've had their practice on the court for 30, 45 minutes. Then they've got themselves ready. Then they're preparing, getting in the gym, warming up, ready for the match. So realistically, your body's quite, you know, you're ready to go. I mean, get in a boxing ring, they go ding, ding, and then it's on. You know, there's no chance to go through a 5-minute warm-up. You do that in the locker room, so...
All right, the ding-ding has happened, and now this one's on.
First set.
The past champion, Grigor Dimitrov, to get us underway in this first-round encounter at the Brisbane International.
please.
We already saw something with that point just there. Nishioka is 5'7" in the old, 170 centimetres. Dimitrov kicked one at him there, and he had to take it up at head height.
And that's what you're going to get. There's no doubt about that
15.
because of his height. So you'll be able to expose it on the second serve, and you'll also be able to spread. He'll be able to spread Nishioka as well on the serve because he doesn't have that reach. But on the other end of the court, Nishioka's got good wheels, plays a lot of balls back. He's got to be determined, and he gets a lot of balls back in the court. Makes you earn the points.
30-15.
Plays counter-punching tennis. Can get offensive, but realistically there's not weapons that are coming off that half of the court, PD, that are going to really trouble Grigor in his mind, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It should be played with his control.
Let's.
What about the hum on that ace that he just had? 218, that's not bad speed for the first match of the season when you're coming off the break. He's got a big arm, this man.
That was this is the number one factor for Grigor in 2018. The second serve didn't find his rhythm, had a lot of variation of where the ball was going, where he was hitting, where his hitting point was, where his body was landing afterwards. Let's look for this this week here during the Brisbane International.
40-30.
Because what it eventually did, it took away a lot of his confidence, and then it actually made a lot of balls, the rest of the game, actually feel uncomfortable. So that's one way to stamp out the bouncing ball. You stand inside the court, you know the ball's going to be kicked up at you, you actually squash that. And that was done extremely well there. Missed his hitting target. Second serve, Grigor.
He's had 2 aces from this court.
Advantage, Nishioka.
Different types. You see the flight and the curve of the ball from Nishioka on the forehand side. He likes to wrap his racket around it, and then on the backhand side it gets back at you very quickly. It's very flat, simple, won't make a lot of errors off that backhand wing because of its simplicity.
Deuce. Advantage, Nishioka.
Really well highlighted from Nishioka there that his defense ability, his ability to use his wheels, his legs to cover the ball, but also actually hit quite a good reactive shot.
3 of 10 now, first serves in this opening game. Already a problem for the Bulgarian.
Juice.
Good way to open your year, though. Bit of pressure early.
Yeah.
Got to hold your serve.
Get some court time out there before the Australian Open. That's very clever. He apologises, maybe didn't get all of it.
Advantage, Nishioka.
Third opportunity straight out of the gates then for the Japanese to make an impression.
Juice.
Can't do much about that. 200 on the knocker out wide.
Advantage, Dimitrov.
And we should see a fair bit of that play there. That wide serve. He's got a natural slice serve that swings out wide to the real weak hitting zone, realistically, of Nishioka, and then opens the court for him to use his weapon, that forehand.
Let. First serve.
See there how he steps up on the court and tries to take time away with that flat backhand there. He actually gets it from point A to B a lot quicker. It's not the up and down curvature of the ball, so you need to be really alert. And Grigor was trying to hold court as well, but that time was unable to get the job done. Very tricky opponent.
Advantage, Dimitrov.
That's a correction that should potentially be Grigor's point, I think.
You hit the ball, the call came, at the same time didn't hinder your call and your shot.
Exactly.
It's Grigor's
It was all over the net. It was very close.
Yeah, I know that it was close, yes, but it didn't hinder your shot.
Well, I think that's the right call from Simon Canavan.
It's very close to saying this. They call the outward. I mean, you know, when I hit the ball and they call it out, it's very close to time.
Yeah.
We cannot say it 100% like that.
For me, it was. The call, if the call didn't come, you were still making the same shot. Dimitrov.
The other factor to that is didn't really have a play on the ball. The ball virtually sort of bounced off. You can see here. Was just able to get his racket on it. There was no energy off the ball, so it wouldn't have changed one way or the other, I would have thought.
So it was 9 minutes. It ended with a bit of drama at the end of the first game. 5 deuces, 3 break points.
Nishioka, Yoshihito to
Somehow, Grigor gets out of it.
$15 love.
So Peter, up this end of the court with Nishioka now serving for the first time. Not a big serve, but it's quite sneaky. It slides around. He's going to have to get high numbers of percentage, but also a bit of variety on the ball as well.
How often do you see it, Rash?
40 love.
You have a 9-minute game and it's followed by a 4-point game quite often.
A lot.
Nishioka.
Well, that is convincing. Just like that, a love game for Nishioka.
1 game.
So 9 minutes followed by about a minute and a half.
We can see here his ability to chase balls down. This is 146 kilometres an hour this winner. Extreme grip. Good balance with his legs. You see strong legs, strong hips. You asked me also about Grigor's game for last year. One of the biggest things for me was, which is a real concern, it was a red flag, that he was getting pushed around a lot by a lot of opponents, too many opponents. And when you're that good a player, you should be doing a lot of the heavy dictating. I'm going to be looking out for this match whether Grigor can be the one making Nishioka do some extreme work wide of the court. Like that sort of stuff. When you get the opportunity, spread the court, hit it heavy, get inside on the top of the baseline to force your opponent, because Grigor is he's good at the net, covers the court beautifully. You can see here, well weighted winner at 147 Ks.
So in other words, impose yourself on the match. Use your intimidation factor.
Yeah, spend a lot of time hitting balls back just for the sake of hitting balls back, if you know. I'll explain that. There would be balls in the rally where you could actually use your feet, get around, dictate with, but there'd be that extra backhand played, extra 1 or 2 backhands where they should have been forehand. So you kept your opponent alive and then they got on top of you, and then Grigor was doing, as he just did then, doing some extreme movement where I want to see a lot of that removed. And that makes him a lot more dangerous, especially visually as well.
Nishioka landed every first serve in his only service game when he held to love. At the moment, Dimitrov is operating at 50% of first serves into play. He's landed 8 of 20. Should just correct my mathematics there. 10 of 20. That's not 50%, is it?
40-30.
Should have got a calculator for Christmas. Already 3.
That's a real concern for me. I would have liked this to have been tidied up, but I'm sure they've spent some time on it. But it's a visual thing for him. For some reason, doesn't just step up to the line and hit that ball, hit it to the spot he wants it.
Advantage. Dimitrov.
Then you come up with a 2-11 thunderbolt down the middle.
And the concern is the variation of the double faults. You know, some will go halfway up the net into then there's one that goes wide or really long. There's a real variety. So I would try and centre my thinking about what my second serve looks like for a while to find the rhythm on that serve.
Advantage,
And it
Nishioka.
makes those type of misses become big misses, if because the points, he generally feels like I need my first serve. So that's where the confidence, you lose a little bit of confidence. That happened a lot in 2018. So
That's the fourth break point that he's had to see off.
and he's been a very good player, world top 10, and because of his ability to save break points as well, find that first serve.
Advantage, Nishioka.
Bit of stunned silence coming from the crowd at the moment. They're a little mystified with what they're seeing from the past champion. Taking a little while to get into the groove. Fifth breakpoint opportunity for Nishioka. Throw that ball away.
Juice.
Well, it was an outstanding rally from both players, really. There was offense from Grigor, and then Nishioka played some real good variety with his ball. Backhand was solid, looked like he wasn't going to miss from that side. Big way to save break point.
32 shots in the rally, understandably both players taking all the time that they're allotted with the 25 seconds just to recover from that.
Good flight from forehand of
Advantage, Dimitrov.
Dimitrov, and from Nishioka, if you're watching him on the screens, you'll see he's got beautiful balance. His height, there's the advantage of height. 5'7", you get into that squat position, so you actually get the ball through a really good hitting zone if it's hit back flat from the opposition.
Game.
Grigor
Dimitrov.
leads 2-1, but he's had to work really hard to get the scoreline to that look.
Dimitrov leads 2-1.
We often sit here and we talk about having to take your chances. There are 5 chances now that Nishioka has had to make an early impression and take the statement in the early stages of this match, and he wasn't able to capitalise on any of them.
Yeah, two he was alive in, 3 were unplayables, but
Yeah.
two were alive in. So that was credit to Grigor, and he was able to keep his nerve really and not actually race the point through. You can hold that break when they had that long rally there. You could have easily seen Grigor try and finish the point really quickly and go, I need through a little bit of pressure, but he rallied and stayed the course and actually extended the rally and got the job done. But you're right, when you get the opportunities, they're the biggest, they're the things that you just need to grab that one moment.
There's the defending champion who's had his issues, actually had his issues with a spider a few days ago, bit him on the foot. Nick Kyrgios, welcome back to Brisbane. Will he be able to produce something against the likes of Joe-Wilfried Tsonga there? Warm embrace in the locker room. He was exciting last year. He was so good. Aussie
Thank
fans
you,
are
ladies
in.
and gentlemen. Please take the first available seat.
And they've
You'll be
been
able to move to your
on
correct
the edge of their
seat
seats because
after the next 2 games.
one of their
Thank you very
favourites,
much.
Grigor Dimitrov, has really had his back to the wall. 5 break point opportunities have come to his opponent. So far, Yoshihito Nishioka has been able to take advantage of none of them.
Folks, 15 love.
Dimitrov hasn't quite got all the way in Melbourne, but he got very close. 2017, where he reached the semi-final, lost to Rafael Nadal in that classic 5-setter.
15 all. 30 love.
And he had a good start to 18, really. It was the semi-finals here, quarterfinals of the Aussie Open, runner-up in Rotterdam a couple of weeks later. And so the season looked like it was going to just continue on.
And I think that's what most people found so surprising. Looking at him early in the year, it looked as though he was set for a blinder.
Yeah, it was, and as I said, the serve had a lot to do with it. You lost a lot of confidence there. The backhand side, I thought, went away from him as well.
Let's
And that can happen. And you want your weapons, your key weapons, to be working. And if they do, generally everything else grows around that. And you can sustain high quality performance.
Nishioka's coach is Mitsuru Takada.
Nishioka played Roger Federer at the US Open. And,
40-30.
that was on big courts, obviously the main stadium court. And that's the type of the match, if I was Grigor, I'd be watching that match and seeing how Roger took care of Nishioka there, because there was a lot of bullying. He bullied himself on the tennis court, bullied his opponent. Different type of stadium for Nishioka, but still he bullied his opponent. Roger bullied him all the way through the course of that match. And he has that effect on a lot of people that don't have big weapons that can go, because he actually stands on top of the court, takes the ball even earlier, so it looks like he's standing on over the top of you, and he's entering the net a lot more. Great tennis, outstanding backhand slices from the Bulgarian. And then his coverage on the court there when he was pushed out to the extreme side. He's a strong boy through the legs, beautifully balanced and movement player.
There is the illustration. You have to take your chances. Nishioka has
Dimitrov
5,
leads 3
doesn't
to
take
1.
advantage of them. Dimitrov gets 1 and makes him pay.
And he was leading comfortably too there, 40-15 service game. Looked like it was going to be a regulation game.
Mr. Nishioka is trying to call right fast sideline. Ball was called in.
Grigor is thinking this one may have missed.
Second serve. $15 love. $30 love.
Again, that was the movement of Dimitrov there that got hold of Nishioka, and against a lot of other opponents, Nishioka would have had the upside in that point there. I like his mentality. He's calm. He's got a good future in front of him. Played a lot of challenger matches last year to get himself into match condition. And emotionally, he's got some emotion. He's got good emotional balance on the tennis court. Just moves on to the next point. That's a perfect point. So if you're Grigor, that's the type of point you're looking for, PD. That one where you actually take control of the ball, you jump on the ball that's there early, like he did there, steps into the down the line, and then he's looking to take the ball out of the air. That will nullify your opponent most times.
Game.
Two real
Dimitrov.
battles on serve, followed by a love game. Dimitrov clicks into gear and leads 4-1
Dimitrov
first set.
leads 4 games to 1.
It's a very intimate stadium here. They've built it well. The crowd feels as though they're part of the action. And it is, as you can probably tell, it's a noisy place. A tennis court is a noisy place these days when the players are sitting down trying to collect their thoughts.
Yeah, it's good. It gives it, it entertains the crowd in there as well. And the players generally don't, they like it. If there's stuff being shown out on the screens, they're watching it.
Yeah.
They're into it. It gives them their downtime. It's their time to sort of switch off. You hit once that game's finished, it's really, some will want to stay in their cocoon. Others will actually like the downtime, breathe, and they'll switch on as time's been called. So
you often find that with golfers between shots that they say heavily concentrating on the shot, and then when they're walking between shots, they'll talk to the other player or their caddy, and they'll talk about anything else apart from golf. They'll talk about what they had for dinner last night, where they're going tonight. Just that little mental refresher.
Well, I think otherwise you get into the situation where you'll almost do yourself in, won't you? You've got too much time to think about what's next.
It looks lopsided on the scoreline, but it's just the one break of serve for Grigor Dimitrov. Nishioka's had his chances, hasn't taken them. Will that come back to bite him?
Yeah, that's a better point for Grigor. Immediately he looked for his forehand, made the return. That next ball was sort of centre, slightly to the backhand, but he jumped around and controlled the point. That's more of what you want to see from the Bulgarian.
Love 30.
It seems like he's suddenly been able to flick the switch now.
It was elite movement, very pointy end movement on a global scale to a couple of those balls.
15-30.
It's funny what happens when you get a little looser. Just breathe a little bit. Grigor has a few pressure moments, pressure games. Now he just lets the ball fly off his racket.
30 all.
And even the body language of Nishioka in the last couple of minutes has changed. It's a hot day here, and we're only 5 games into the match, but he is showing signs of a little fatigue already.
Well, the big difference is it becomes more mental because every single point against a real elite player, the top end, you're locked in mentally. There's no relief. You don't feel like there's any relief. There's nowhere to escape and get a free point.
Nishioka.
He might be just feeling a little fatigue, but he's still hanging in there.
So it's no disrespect to the challenger player, but when you've been playing challengers, you'll get away with a lot of free points and you'll be able to control the way of the momentum of the game. But here against a top-end player, it's not so much physical. Yeah, it gets to him at the end, but it's more mental. The mental drainage of actually every point is on. It's on high alert. And then when it's like, you know, imagine playing Rafa on clay. I mean, you feel like there's nowhere to go. So that's why I would like, you know, if you're someone like Nishioka, I want to be practicing with these guys more often. I want to be the practice partner. So I need to live in their world a little bit and get the feel of what it's like to continually play at this top end level.
Got a bit of kick on that one too.
30 love.
Chances to finish him off.
40 love. $40-15. Correction, ball's good. First serve. Mr. Dimitrov is going to call right baseline. Ball was called in.
Pretty confident this one is long. He's heading towards the chair.
It may be out.
he's about a 50-50 guy, Grigor, with these calls.
He was right. Gave
Call
the finger
number
movement.
two.
That's about how far out it was.
Game.
Cruise control on.
Dimitrov.
Dimitrov
Minutes, please.
leads 5-2.
Dimitrov leads 5 games to 2.
Said I've got one right. I'm now up on the count.
And so the new balls come out. We were talking about the different balls that they're using and the fact that a lot of people seem to be thinking that they fluff up perhaps a little earlier than the other ones. Renee Stubbs told Sam Smith that she thought you got probably 4 or 5 good games out of them.
Yeah, look, I got a couple of cans of balls from Team Australia, went down and used them on different courts, and just to get the feel here, it's a bit of humidity as well, so that would have an effect. But the balls, when they're new, I think it's a really good ball. To be honest, I think it's got it offers a little bit of everything. Yeah, they might get, depending on the conditions, course of the tennis court, but in general, it's a good tennis ball.
Briefly, what's the difference between a good one and a bad one?
I think you want a ball that offers you a bit of everything. You can play fast through the air. When it's new, it's got some. It offers that speed, and then when it's wearing a little bit, it just doesn't die on you. It doesn't become this heavy pellet. And as I said, conditions relate to that as well.
New balls for Yoshihito Nishioka, serving to keep the first set going.
Love. Love. 30-15.
It's the constant pressure someone like Nishioka will go through against the bigger hitting player. So you can see why it's really important, PD, for his body to be sound.
40-15.
Because he's so heavily reliant on that being the main vehicle. That's his housing. He's being able to use his legs, move quickly. Gives him access to his shots, as there are no real weapons where he can actually win some free points.
Again, Nishioka.
Pretty convincing service game for the Japanese, but in a moment, Grigor Dimitrov will have the opportunity
leads 5
of
games
closing
to
out
3.
his first set. Roger Ashley was talking about the importance of landing the first serve. It's backed up by the stats. When he gets his first serve into play, he's only lost 3 points in this first set. Just gives him command of the point from the word go.
15 love. Love. 40 love.
This match was less than 15 minutes old. Dimitrov had stared down 5 break points. He was looking a bit messy, and after that, the worm has turned. That is convincing.
First set.
He's in the
Dimitrov,
groove now. A love
6
game for
games to
Dimitrov,
3.
and he wraps up the first set 6-3 in 41 minutes.
So here's the set 1 highlights. And once Grigor got loose, free, things started to happen on a more regular basis. Weathered that initial storm and finished off strongly to capture the first set.
And these are the numbers from the first set. Dimitrov at 58%, but as we said, Rash, he only lost 3 points when that first serve went into play. So if he gets it up over 60, hard to see Nishioka getting himself back into this.
Yeah, they're the numbers, 58. He'll take that, but it's not really work. He wants to be in the mid-60s, 65%. His second serve, it just shows the importance of that first serve, because only 39% of the time did he win the points on his second serve. So that's the real vulnerability moment, and that's the statistic I'm really concerned about. I like that you need to be around the 50% mark. So those numbers he wouldn't really like, but the reality is it's the first set of a new season, and you've got to just let that breathe a little bit, go through your process, put those things into play, and just see where everything lands. There's no real concern about what you saw in the first 43 minutes of play.
The winner of this match will play the winner of tonight's match, which is going to be a beauty. John Millman and Tennis Sandgren. It'll be the first match on Pat Rafter Arena tonight.
And John plays well here, John Millman. He loves the crowd, loves playing in front of his own audience, which is not always the case.
He loves the crowd and the crowd loves him.
Yeah,
that creates a great atmosphere, as was evidenced when he played this man 12 months ago.
Absolutely.
So take us into the mindset here, Roger. 45 minutes they've been out. They're pretty close to it. 3/4 of an hour. Does Grigor want to get this over and done with as quickly as possible? Or would he prefer to have another 40 minutes of good competitive court time out there, looking ahead to the big prize of the Australian Open?
For me, it's as quick as possible. Anyone who says, "Oh yeah, well, I got extra court time, so I played that extra set," that's an easy out for me.
Game, Nishioka.
And a love game for Nishioka to begin the second set.
I mean, Peter, it's easy to say, "Oh yeah,
First game,
I've had extra court time,
second
played for another 45 minutes of grueling tennis, so that's great value for me." But what would have also been great value is if I methodically put in my processes and got through that next set 6-3 and was really clinical and clean. If I want some extra court time, I'll go back out on the practice court and then rely on my next match, if you know what I mean. So it's an easy quote to throw out there, but I would always get through the matches as well as I can. That was good from Grigor. You can see the natural talent that he has, not only with the volley, but his movement, his ability to see the ball early through the air as well. He's got very good vision of picking the ball off the tennis racket, and he can abbreviate his shot right there as he did. And he's got beautiful control of the tennis ball off his strings. That's a complete package point. One thing I would want if I was Grigor,
30 low.
we've got an opponent like this who's hasn't got a big wingspan. There hasn't been a serve volley point played at all. Should easily be able to be throwing in some serve volley points and put yourself in that space. So I think it's really part of his game. There needs to be part of that attached to his game. Just so it throws some variation to the really big servers and really great returners, because if they're not sure whether you may sneak in, it changes their hitting model, their returning model. So if they feel like you're never going to come in off the serve, their flight of return generally can stay the same.
Game. Dimitrov.
Cruise control is definitely engaged at the moment.
1 game all.
Love games to both players to begin this second set. And this is the time that you work on those things, that you work on mixing it up. As we keep on referring to the bigger picture, the Australian Open, but this is fine-tuning on the way towards that. Starting to hit his marks now.
It's good hitting there, but I just think it's bigger picture in general. That's just my game, and that's what I have the ability to add that, because he has natural serve, he can swing the ball, he can naturally move forward, he volleys naturally. So I'm going, in my head, I'm saying use those assets. Doesn't have to be all the time, but they must be used.
All.
In your time in charge of him, was he a guy who was receptive to those thoughts when you
absolutely we did a lot
to
of
him?
Did a lot of that activation. That was always in play. I wanted him to explore his ability to actually have other ways to win points. But in a controlled manner, but understanding that because there are times when you're going to need to take yourself offline a little bit and actually do something a little different to change the flow and momentum of the game. And you know, we see it with Roger. He just all of a sudden there'll just be 3 points to serve volley. Sort of like, I'll just throw that variety in there. And you're not necessarily saying it to every player because their skill sets are all different. But Grigor's got a complete skill package where you can get access to the court, every part of the court.
No real issues for either player on serve at the beginning of the second set. Nishioka leads 2-1.
Nishioka leads 2-1.
I was just trying to think of an analogy for what you were talking about, and I thought, when you're driving, you're obviously conscious when you're driving, but if you're aware of the fact that an animal might run out in front of the car, then it makes you concentrate a little bit more, makes you aware. And it's just that element of surprise that you have to be aware of, and if you can catch your opponent by surprise, well, that's the time that you can take advantage of it. Is that an analogy that works?
100%. Because up the other end, your opponent's feeling like you're never going to use that forward half of the court after you serve, unless it bounces. So imagine if they thought, oh, well, will they serve volley this ball or not? If it goes to my backhand side, they swing it out wide. Therefore, it changes your return position, like your line of flight. That's a huge difference to a returner. Huge difference. They're now not calm.
Yeah.
They're actually uncomfortable all of a sudden. So that's what you're trying to do. And as I said, if you can do it, and Grigor can do it, you use it.
Time.
Two games to one at the start of the second set, opening day of the Brisbane International. At this wonderful complex, the Queensland Tennis Centre Pat Rafter Arena, with a good crowd in. This place will be full tonight. And one of Queensland's favourite sons, John Millman, struts his stuff. I don't mind this guy either.
15.
He's liked wherever he plays around the world, but he's a very popular figure here in Australia. Part of the reason for that is the success that he had on this very court 2 years ago.
Good inside in forehand there from Grigor initially off the first hit. He was able to get one hand off the racket from Nishioka, and once that happens, there's definitely going to be a short reply, and you get to own the point. That's spreading your opponent, controlling the game.
Just as a follow-up to what we were talking about
30-15.
with that 2017 final, the man he beat was Kei Nishikori. He could very well meet him in the quarterfinals here. Nishikori as the second seed gets a first round bye.
Another Japanese player
14-15.
coming back from injury and had a great finish to the year and put himself back inside the top 10. We're very pleased to see that happen.
So if it does eventuate, when we get to the quarters, Grigor should be well acquainted with Japanese players who can cover the court very well. Of course, that has been one of the gun attributes of Nishikori for as long as he's been in the game, his court coverage and his speed. dared. Not a thing Dimitrov could do about it.
Deuce.
Don't often get it completely dead, do you?
No. These nets are often so tightly strung, the ball will tend to fly. Needs to be careful here, the Bulgarian. We've been talking about how comfortable he looks. He's 1 point away from being very uncomfortable.
That was a good play from Nishioka. He actually took hold of the court there, stood on top of the court and actually forced his backhand, so he got a lot more speed and momentum through the court.
Basically hit 2 on the baseline and pinned him back. The opportunity of a very sudden change in this match. Once more, when questioned,
Deuce.
Dimitrov is able to find the answers. That is now 6 break points that he's seen off.
Got it.
Good defense from Nishioka, but Dimitrov had the answers.
Advantage, Dimitrov.
Well, great athleticism here. That was coming back off a fully stretched forehand prior to that, so you can see there the natural flexibility, movement and range that Grigor has.
Game.
Well, if you don't
Dimitrov.
take your chances against an opponent of this caliber, it is going to hurt you. He's had 6 now,
2 games
Nishioka,
on.
and he hasn't taken advantage of any of them. Good wheels.
Love 15.
They wouldn't be happy with that miss. That was a little loose and lazy, really.
Love 30.
See that was back foot, was going back. Nishioka, get it off pace and you're in trouble against the big boys.
$15.30. $15.40.
Again, he just seems to be going through what appears to be a bit of a flat spot at the moment, physically, perhaps mentally too. Oh,
Game.
stunning shot from Dimitrov on the half volley, brings up the break, and now he might be on his way. He leads 3-2 in the second. Clean as you like. Not only a good pickup, but a clean winner as well. He liked that one. And well, you might. It's been a struggle in this second set. Both players have appeared comfortable, but I don't know whether you, Roger, have seen the same thing as me with Nishioka. We mentioned it in the first set that he seemed to go flat for a minute, and it just seemed in that game that he did the same thing.
Yeah, I think realistically, you know, as you mentioned, I had a chance, didn't get it, and it's just, can I keep myself up and actually respond and actually hold strong? But you can't help but feel like, oh, there's my opportunity. And we can see here in the chair now, he's got his head back and understands there's Nishikori watching, supporting his countrymen. Probably doing a little bit of homework as well at the same time.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, you only, as you said, you only, against the better players, you get small, limited amounts of opportunities, and if you haven't grabbed them, it can wear on you.
Time.
Yoshihito Nishioka had that look about him at the end of that game. The change of ends, he was sitting in the chair with his head back thinking, poor boy, this could be a whole lot different if I'd taken my chances. Grigor has, though, and now he's got the advantage of the break.
I talked about Grigor's game at the start of what happened in 18, and you know, at the end of 18, you know, he brought on Andre Agassi and to go to Paris, spent a month with him in the off season this year in Vegas at Darling Tennis Club, and to be part of his team. Won't travel every week. We'll be at the Australian Open, but it'll be interesting to see what that. I think it's a really good mix character-wise. Andre,
30.
thinker, he likes to talk, you know, he talks, he listens. Grigor's like that, they like spending time with each other. Grigor's got a relaxed mentality, very respectful mentality, which is all about Andre as well, had a lot of respect. So I think that mix is an excellent mix. We'll see what results come out of it, but I just think the interaction between the two is spot on.
He
lived with Andre and Steffi, so I'm sure he probably enjoyed Steffi more than Andre. She was a bigger champion. And what Andre was really good at, PD, was he could command the court. He pushed you around. He bullied you around. I talked about that bullying around, which I wanted to see in this match here. Well, Andre did a lot of that. He didn't spend a lot of time retrieving. He tried to take first control of the point. So I think he could build a lot of that into Grigor's game as well. Get him to understand that. Andre probably would have liked Grigor's movement, by the way. You can't have everybody's assets.
He'll be welcomed back to Melbourne Park with open arms because of everything he was able to achieve at that place over his illustrious career. And that had plenty of hum on it. 200 with the wide serve. He's now within 2 games of victory.
Dimitrov leads 4-2.
And I think if this is straight sets, it'll probably suit Simon Canavan in the chair.
Love 15.
Sounds like he's trying to summon up the last bit the vocal cords have got left.
Yeah.
Well, he almost dared him to pass.
Love 30.
Grigor said, I can do that.
Mr. Nishioka is shown to call left far sideline. Ball is called out.
I think there's much to buy a bit of time.
Well, it's hard when you're Nishioka, because where do you go with your game? You can't just elevate,
Goal stance.
top it out with some speed.
Love 40.
There's no free points to grab hold of.
Out.
Well, it's just that sense of inevitability that has crept into the match now. Grigor Dimitrov gets the break to love, and now is one game away from victory.
Mr. Nishioka has 2 challenges remaining.
There's that body language we were talking about. It occurred in the game before the previous sit-down, and it's continued. His shoulders are slumped, his head's down, and inevitably, as you said, Roger, he's gone back to those moments where he had the 6 break points, and it must be just playing in his head. This could have been so different.
Yeah, he could have got an early jump in the match, and then Grigor would have had to play catch up. May have done that because this is a talent, he's got game, but still could have been a different type of pressure environment for him. And yeah, as you said, you get opportunities if you can grab them. You might be able to get a vulnerable leading player, but when it happens the other way around and they get their nose in front, then there's not much to push back. That's going to be his decision making about what his career is going to look like, what his game's going to look like moving forward. Is there anything, element they're going to try and add to give him a chance in matches like these to push back a little bit?
Time.
It's taken just a couple of moments really to change the course of the match. Grigor Dimitrov with new balls in his hand, that break in the 4th game
Thank you for the music.
First set. Subtle hint from Simon Canavan in the chair.
15 love.
How quickly he's been able to whip through his service games in this set compared to the first, where he was faced with all sorts of problems. That average was influenced by the fact that the first game of the match went 9 minutes.
Leaving this set, he's at 50% now at first serve percentage. So wouldn't be, this is an area which needs to be top end for him to put himself back inside the top 10. Have a look at top 5, be that type of player. This needs to be an area that he will want to build up with numbers.
And to re-illustrate and back up that point you were making, we touched on this in the first set, his overall stats for the match. When the first serve has gone into play, he's lost 4 points for the entire match.
Better from Nishioka. That's what he's got to do. Try and hold it. When there is a flight of ball, he can't take a backward step to that and actually give away his real estate. You can see there he just stood on top of the court. He needs to do a lot more of that against a quality player when he has options to with flight and speed of ball.
Break point number 2 for the game, or first break point for the game, first of 2, but break point number 7 for the match. And he doesn't need to do anything about it. And finally, it happens, but he'll be thinking if only it had have happened earlier.
Dimitrov leads 5-3.
So we're back to 1 break.
This just shows also you're playing your first match. You were clean. You were 28 minutes in serving at standing at 5-2.
15 love.
Almost think it would be regulation, but the game got tricky. And that's just in the mind a little, serving out the match, the first match. Everyone thinks it's easy. It's not easy when you're stuck up on that line.
I'd like to elaborate on that with you after this point. We constantly, as commentators, talk about the difficulty of serving out a set or serving out a match. Why? Why is it so difficult? What becomes the difficulty with it?
Well, there's two. I think there are two effects to this. Sometimes he has a great finish there, step up on the court, Grigor, but sometimes a player walk up to the line and then decide to do something different. They'll overthink the moment instead of, you want to go to your weapons. You want to use your best serve. What is your best play? You use that and back that in. That's the winner. On the other end of the court, there's more desperation. They tend to be more desperate. All of a sudden, there are times, players that I've coached, that the returner will play the returning match of the returning game of the match that they've ever played. They've got more balls in there, because they're on survival. This is the ultimate survival mode. But a lot of times I see players
40-30.
When I analyse it and watch it closely, I see a lot of players move off their strengths. They won't go with their key guns.
Game. Nishioka.
Spoke about the difficulty of serving the match out. Well, for the second time, Grigor is going to face that. He leads 5-4 in the second. A little lifeline then for the 23-year-old from Japan.
He was probably thinking, where were those a lot earlier? Where was that in the first set? I wanted a second serve, a few more second serve opportunities.
Just a little stiffness perhaps around the hip and the groin area. Tough on the body to come back after several weeks of layoff, and also tough to attune yourself mentally to get back into the heat of battle again.
A bit of nervous energy adds to the body movement. You do all the training for do 3-4 hours a day, and then you can actually do that and do the gym work. Yeah, you get a little bit sore, but you feel good. Here, there's some nervous energy.
Time.
Grigor Dimitrov has already served for the match once, unsuccessfully. So the first point right here becomes really vital. That'll just ease the squeeze a little bit for him.
15 love.
Good use of his forehand there. Played to the right side of the court.
Love. 30-15.
Have a look at the wrist action here.
Guy's got some flexibility, I'm telling you.
Well, the start was a little messy,
40-15.
but since then he's been largely in control of the match, apart from that little blip on the radar where he was broken when he was serving for the match, but pretty comprehensive apart from that.
That was a great pass there. He asked the question on a big point. Pretty relaxed pass from Nishioka.
Things are getting interesting.
Juice.
Well, there was an area during the 16-shot rally last year. Grigor had there were quite a few matches where he actually had the set, the break, and was in control, and would drop his serve, and then go on to. I don't think it's going to happen today, but you know he actually found this type of finish, this lead, an issue. Great point, perfect stock standard point. Served where he was going to get the reply that he was going to take control of the court.
Advantage, Dimitrov.
Some clear thinking around that point.
Third opportunity for the number 6 seed to take the first step. Sloppy at the start, but impressive after that for the 2017 champion. 1 hour and 19 minutes. 6-3, 6-4. Plenty of good feelings for Grigor Dimitrov on this court. And I think largely Roger Rashidi will be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Their first outing, your movement looked really good. He's striking the ball pretty cleanly. Yeah, there's some areas that he would, you know, that are questionable that he would agree on. But it is the first match. You've got to let yourself breathe and sort of, you know, you've got to take the higher ground on those things and just move forward. And I think he'll be pretty pleased with that.
And it's still part of the comeback trail for Yoshihito Nishioka after that serious knee injury that he had in 2017. He showed us some good signs, but he'll go to the locker room and he'll think, well, what could have been had I taken advantage of those early break points. He had 5 of them in the first couple of games. Let's get Grigor's appraisal of that first round victory now as he chats with Brett Phillips.
Well, Grigor, pretty solid. Always tough to come and play the first match of a new season, but a court you've had good success on. How did you rate that performance?
Yeah, indeed. It's been, as I said, every year it's a new beginning, and I'm very happy to start the year out here. I always started well, I always had good results, so just want to keep on with the same momentum. It's never easy, that first match, you know, it's still 2018, so you try to just get over every hurdle that you have. And in the past 4 or 5 months, things have been a little rough for me. So I'm just pleased with the win. It was a tricky opponent, especially on a surface like that. So I'm taking it in.
Yeah, it was a year that threw up many challenges. I mean, the ATP Tour is tough and there's a lot of emerging talent. What did you take out of that year? And you've added 𝕽𝖆𝖔𝖘𝖑𝖆𝖛 with Danny as part of your team, done some pretty heavy training with him in the last few weeks. Just take us through what you've learnt and what's the plan for 2019 to get back to where you were?
Oh man, matches. I mean, this is the only way to get back to the winning combination. It's simple as that. The more matches you play, the more confident you get, and I mean, you automatically, the ranking gets high up there. But we are all very happy in the team that Andre is with us. He's more than a friend to me. So it's just a very special relationship. To name something in particular in my game is no point right now. So just a huge appreciation and very humbled to have him by my side. And hopefully things go well on the court for us.
Is there one thing that stands out, Grigor, in the short time you've been working with Andre that he's given you?
Oh man, friendship, brotherhood, anything like that for sure. I mean, on the court we've worked a lot on the court, but as I said, there's bigger things in tennis. I mean, right now I'm living my dream and having the best team with Danny, Casey, Seb. I mean, Andre's just the whole team is excellent. I mean, I couldn't be more blessed to have people like that surround me. Of course, results are results, but above all, to have these guys is pretty amazing.
Great to have you back here in Brisbane. Well done.
Thank you.
He is a popular figure, and he may very well be facing a popular figure. A little kiss for the camera as well as the autograph. John Millman or Tennis Sandgren will be the next opponent for Grigor Dimitrov. But in the end, pretty comfortable, an hour and 19 minutes, 6-3, 6-4. Time for a little souvenir for the crowd. That one up into the top level. So is that one. He's going for the bleachers. And so here are the final numbers for the match. 57% of first serves into play, but when that first serve went in, he lost just